I am the Captain, RG3, bringing you another episode of Chatting with the Captain. Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you all enjoyed Richard. You could blame Gary for the early cutoff, but anyway, we asked Richard. We said, "Hey, we've got a really important guest coming on. Are you going to stream today?" He said, "Yeah, I was planning on it." So he cut it off early. We miscommunicated. We thought 6:30 we were going to start, but we were going to prep because Gary's coming in here and he likes to make things real and solid versus how we do things around here, which is turn it on and let's go, right? So anyway, I appreciate him, and for all of you who don't know him, Gary is a cutthroat. He is also known as Funding Jim. He has his own YouTube channel. He is well connected within the financial, entrepreneurial, what would you call it, motivational speaking field, realm, space. He's the man. He's got a lot of good context, and that's who we're talking with tonight. We're actually talking with somebody who is directly connected with Robert Kiyosaki, writer of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I believe she is actually his personal physician. I think we'll have to verify and qualify that with her. But if that is the case, that is very, very cool. And who knows where that's going to lead to. Maybe one day we'll get Robert himself in here to talk to us about finance. But today we're going to be speaking with a doctor who has all kinds of letters behind her name, and we're gonna get into some health stuff. You know, we talk about that often here because there is nothing more important than your health, and that's the one thing you cannot 100% buy with money. You've got to take an active position in your health, and we're going to talk about that tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Gary because he knows more about her than I do. Funding Jim, Gary, what's happening, my brother?
What's up, guys? Good to see you all tonight. I'm very excited to be here just as a momentary presenter of Nicole Srednicki. And she is a great friend. She's a lovely person, but I like that she's in the preventative medicine field. Many people know that I was in cardiology for a long time. Decades of my life was spent on intervention or recovery from heart disease. You know, if someone needs an angiogram or a stent or something along those lines, that was my world, the diagnostic world as far as that goes in medicine. But she really has focused a lot of her career on regenerative medicine, anti-aging, all of these types of topics that would prevent seeing someone as an interventionalist. So I really am happy that she's here tonight to share her knowledge base and, help Hexicans in general live a longer, more fruitful life. So just want to make that presentation. I enjoyed several days with her recently at racing schools and things like that with George Gammon and Ken McElroy. So just a great person, and I'm glad that she's here to share.
Right on, everybody. Well, this is Dr. Nicole Srednicki. How you doing, Nicole? Can we call you Nicole, or do I have to say doctor because I don't want to be disrespectful? Is it doctor?
No, call me Nicole. That's totally fine. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate you. But you can still call me the captain. I still appreciate that.
Okay.
So with that, I'm going to bow out. Just want to have you guys have your own conversation about any topic whatsoever. But again, thanks for joining us tonight, Nicole. Thanks, RG, for hosting.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
See you, buddy. Oh, now it's just us and the Hexicans, Nicole. How are you doing this evening?
Great, thank you.
Is there a little bit of a lag?
Very
here?
nice.
Having a heart.
Sorry. Yes,
is there a little bit of a lag?
Nice. I think we're okay.
Okay.
So thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you because so this just to let you know a little bit about us before we get into it and just start asking you questions. We are a crypto community here, but we've been a very well-rounded crypto community because I'm an old guy and I think that, human beings need to be well-rounded, especially when they've got money. And so I've always spoken to the community about things like health, on top of, wealth and how to be responsible with it and those kinds of things. So being responsible for your health has been one of the things that we've discussed here over and over again. Because, and you and I talked about it in the green room a moment ago. one of the things that really resonated with me as a younger man, as an entrepreneur, when I was trying to, I was a millwright by trade. I worked a regular job. I was a blue collar guy, but on the side, I was always trying to do different, be different, get out of that working mentality, get on the other side of the quadrant, as as Robert would say, and get into becoming an entrepreneur. And so while I was doing that, some of the books that I read, one of the studies that I saw that somebody had done really resonated with me. It said, I interviewed all these very, very wealthy men, and they were all at the end stages of their lives, and they were all in their 70s and 80s. And I asked them, what would they change if they were to change one thing in their life? What would that be? And they all said that they would have taken better care of their health when they were younger than they did, because they were all facing problems, issues, medications that they were on, everything from dialysis and all this other stuff that they were having to deal with at an older age. When they had money and it was time to relax, they were, having to pay the price. So that resonated with me. So I've always been an advocate of health. I've always, tried to take care of myself. COVID has taken some of that from me, but, so here we are today, and I'm so glad that we have you on the show, because you're somebody who knows a lot more than all of us. So maybe we can dig into some stuff and talk about longevity and whatnot.
Definitely. So you touched on exactly why I started my practice. Back when I was in school, I was so excited to become a doctor and take health to the next level. But when I was in school, I quickly realized that we were learning how to only treat disease. And within that, it was like write prescriptions, and get people in and out as fast as possible and do whatever insurance says. And I was like, I'm not spending all my time in school for this. Like, I want to teach people how to actually be healthy. So when I got out of school, I did a fellowship in anti-aging and regenerative medicine. And then I did another fellowship in natural medicine, so that I could bring both sides of medicine to the table. So I could have a lot of natural, but then conventional when I need it for things like COVID. If COVID hits you, we need a lot of Western medicines to help us through it. Also natural medicine. But that was why I started my practice. And I've had my practice now for almost 7 years.
7 years.
Yes.
And go ahead.
Sorry. So my specialty is I specialize in high performance health for high performance people. So I work with entrepreneurs, like a lot of your viewers, athletes, celebrities, and professionals who value their health. They realize how important it is, how, why we actually need to invest in our health now rather than waiting till we already have disease.
So explain this. So you've got your degrees, you've got your pedigree, you've gotten into Western medicine, and then you said, well, I want to learn more about natural and homeopathic type remedies and things like that. So then you kind of mix the two, and now your practice is treating the whole person. Is that kind of what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I do work on treating the whole person, treating the foundation, but also I like to bring in the, cutting edge anti-aging medicine, which, medicine, it's like this world is just growing so much. And so I like to bring a lot of those new aspects into my practice, as long as it's science-based. I always tell people, if I'm not going to do it on myself or my family, then I'm not bringing it in here. But so I like to bring in a big mix. And then as I evaluate a patient, we figure out where to start. If their blood pressure is out of control, I'm not going to say, I'm going to, sprinkle some dust on you and now you're fine. No, I'm going to start you on a blood pressure med, but we're going to do all these other things to get you off of that med. But in a lot of my patients, they come to me relatively healthy. And so then we can just start building from the foundation up to make them an ultra healthy human.
Yeah, it's easier to work with somebody when they're already somewhat healthy, right?
Absolutely, or catching things early on. So when I first see the patient, I do rather extensive testing and blood work to get what I call your internal body mapping. And this goes really in depth into, how inflamed are your tissues, your cells, what are all of these hormone cascades, do you have heavy metals in your body? We look at vitamin levels, and then of course basics, do you have diabetes? Do you have liver issues? Do you have prostate issues? And then from that, this is what I call your internal body mapping. So now we can look at how old are you internally versus externally, and then go from there.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So you run blood tests on people, and you start to look at what's going on with their blood levels as far as what inflammation in different organs may be, or do you actually run some type of body scan on organs and things, or how do you find this out? I mean, is it all just through blood work, or do you do other scanning?
We start with a lot of blood work, also in-depth conversation with the patient about their lifestyle. You know, what's their line of work? What do they do for fun? All these different types of things will weigh in. What's their stress level? That's huge. And then when we look at all these different blood tests and kind of put the whole picture together, we can start to see subtle abnormalities that you would never get by, you know, just going to your annual physical. Your annual physical is looking for disease that's already there. So you're already way down the road. We want to catch it like early on, you know, subtle. And then it's so much easier to reverse that.
Okay. So for instance, a guy that's my age in his 50s, right? How would you start scanning somebody like me for issues? Like, I mean, I don't know if I mean, I feel fine, but I've known a lot of guys like me, my age, that feel fine, that killed over of a heart attack instantly. You know, how do you map that? How do you go in and map something like that for somebody?
So that's a great question. So again, looking at starting with the the deepest layers of blood work, how much stress do you have in your life? Do you have environmental stressors? Do you have emotional stressors? So there's like different types of stressors, and that weighs in a lot on these. But it's what you say about, how do I know if I'm going to have like a heart attack tomorrow? Well, we start with blood work, then we start determining risk factors. Then I might bring in, we need to do a certain kind of imaging. I want to look at the vessels in your neck and in your heart to see, do you have good blood flow? How much calcium buildup do you have? But doing that emotional element of interviewing is so important, because stress that can cause a heart attack alone. And that's why, sometimes I ask people, when you say, well, I don't have any symptoms, is that how you're determining you're healthy? Just by not having symptoms, right? So we actually need to know what's going on in there.
Yeah. And that's like every guy my age is that's the same thing. They're like, no, I don't have any symptoms. I'm fine. I don't need to go to the doctor. And then, a month later, they fall over the heart. Literally, I lost, a father and my best friend within the last year to, heart attack. We didn't see coming. My dad was very healthy. He was a runner. He was very thin. He wasn't overweight. It was like, okay, he's fine. Dad's fine. He should be all right. Woke up one morning and his heart stopped. That was it, and massive heart attack. And we didn't even know. How were we supposed to tell? And same thing, a good friend of mine now, my buddy, he was out of shape, overweight, but he was only 54 and, killed over dead of a heart attack, and, I see, Richard talks about one of the founder of the cryptocurrency that we promote here. He's always talking about, heart disease and cancer. These are the things that are going to get you. And even if you cure these things, they're not going to really expand your life that much. It's going to be other things that are going to, expand the human life with other health options, longevity research and things. Where does that play with you?
So my colleague, my colleague actually published a book. It's called Second Opinion: 8 Deadly Diseases. And it talks about the specific emotions that are related to certain organ dysfunctions. So like why people sometimes end up having heart attacks, even though they don't have any of the risk factors. It's a really, really good read and really insightful into a different aspect on disease and some of the disease prevention. So, just kind of like in your situation, what you're just talking about, when I have somebody that comes to me, I really, I scan people really well. And sometimes like I'll order tests that there's no way their health insurance is going to cover it, because their health insurance, again, it's not looking for something potentially there. But when somebody tells me, you know, I'm fine, I'm a runner, I'm healthy, but, you know, I think heart disease like runs in my family. Like my, you know, you start seeing like my grandfather died when he was in his 50s. Then sometimes I'll say, you know what, just preventatively, like, let's just go do a stress test, or let's go get a CT angiogram. Let's just go look at those vessels. And I can't tell you, you know, that's been life-saving before. You know, all of a sudden we'll see that they have a major blockage in one of their vessels, and we just take them to the cath lab and get intervened on, get a stent, versus waiting till they have a heart attack. Now they have to have open heart surgery. And these are the things that I always like harp on, like, this is not happening in traditional medicine. So, you know, when you have the ability and access to, you know, other testing, or somebody that can kind of guide you, it's so beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's talk about, so I mean, we can go into the kidneys and the heart and the lungs and all of these different, there's all these different diseases, right? But let's focus on one of the things that I've heard. I listened to some of your podcasts. I listened to what you say, and I've known this for many, many years, is the main cause of this disease, or these things that are happening, is inflammation. And how do you look at that? How do you fight that? What is your recommendations for fighting inflammation? And you know, how much does inflammation weigh in the scale of things as far as health goes for you?
Inflammation is huge, and inflammation is basically the foundation of like every disease. So it's so important to address it. And so many different things cause inflammation. And, you know, just so the viewers know, when we're talking about inflammation, we don't mean like my knee hurts. We're talking about inflamed cells, inflamed tissues. That's, you know, people that, you know, down the road, people that have diabetes, they have a ton of inflammation in their body. But even little things can start to cause inflammation. Heavy metals, just toxins. We eat food that's dirty. We are breathing air that's dirty. Stress will literally change the structure of our cells and create inflammation. And then inflammation is going to create accelerated aging. None of us want that. And then that's what's going to lead to disease. So I'm huge with inflammation, and, you know, getting a hold of it, being aware of it. And I would say my number one for inflammation is detoxing, doing a good, I use a 21-day detoxification program. And what it does is like cleans up your blood, cleans up your organs, and it gives your body a reset. So there's all different micronutrients in it. It focuses on blood, liver, colon, and then there's even like a weight loss element of it. But this is like foundational. I typically put every single patient through a detox, and to help reset their body. And they, you know, you might not see physical changes, but then we'll usually see it in their blood work. But I would say 99% of the time they benefit, and they can actually have physical improvements. If it's weight loss, more energy, better mental clarity, less joint pain, better sleep, better hair, skin, nails. That's definitely my number one. I could talk all, you know, for the next hour on.
Well, that's important, because I mean, you got to start out somewhere, because look, we're all screwed up. We've been, you know, eating and drinking pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, germicides, you name it, on top of all the mass amounts of, you know, omega-6s that we're all putting on our bodies, and all these, you know, what do you call it, the triglycerides, and just all of these horrible things that we're constantly eating, especially if we're eating out of the left side of our car window all the time, which a lot of us do. Let's just face it, you know, especially people who are busy out there running around, you know, and I do a lot of traveling, so I know that I don't get to eat as right as I'd like to. That is changing though, because I know that what I put in my pie hole is most important. But the detox is the beginning of that, you know, like, especially if you're my age, I've been soaking up a lot of bad shit for a long time. So we need to get cleared. So is your detox one of these crazy detoxes that are out there, or do you use a product? How do you do your detox, or is it proprietary secret?
No, I'm happy. I'm happy to share. My mission is to share health education with people and teach people how to be healthy. So I'm happy to share. So my detox is it is something that I actually developed with the lab. This is how passionate I have become with how important detoxing is. But it's shakes, it's clean eating. So you're gonna have like fruits, vegetables. You're gonna have some pseudo grains, which are like quinoa, lentils, wild rice. It's lower protein initially, and then you're going to start adding in lean protein later because a lot of detoxing takes place in your liver. So it's not like starvation or anything like that. It's not just juices where you're like ravenous.
I did that damn lemon thing one time for those 4 or 5 days, and it damn near killed me. I'm sorry. I can't believe, I was like, is this thing for real? Like, my wife was like, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to drink this lemon water. First, you're going to down 1.5 gallons of salt water in the morning. I'm like, how can that even be fucking good for you? 1 gallon of salt water, right? And so down this stuff, of course, the salt water, because of, I guess, the weight of it, or it goes right through you, like whoosh, right? And then you drink this lemon water, and then you have like your nutrients for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 days or whatever is maple syrup. And I got to where I can't even smell maple syrup anymore because that shit was so awful.
Oh gosh. No, whenever I say detox or a cleanse to a patient, first I have to defend it because I always hear like stories about like this stuff that's on the market. So this is also meant to be sort of a lifestyle change. So it's not like torture,
You've got to have a lifestyle change. I mean, if you do it once, it's like, okay, I did it, so I'm good. Check. No. If you're really that focused on it, I think it's time for a lifestyle change if you're going to detoxify.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Well, and then so you can like balance your life. We all want to go out to dinner. We all want to splurge. We're getting into holidays now. Like, we want that balance. So like go out, go have your good dinner, but then, go back and do your shakes for a few days to like balance it out a little bit. The reason that I made this 21 days is for something called neuroplasticity to kick in. And that's where your brain actually starts to create new habits. So when you start this, the first few days are a little rough, you go through that detox, but then it starts to like, okay, I'm kind of getting used to it. Then before you know it, you're adding in more proteins. And then by the end, you're actually feeling better. And then you're like, okay, like I think I could actually keep going. Versus doing like, a 3 or 5 day thing where the only thing that's going through your head is, I can't wait until day 5 and I can go, back to my eating.
Yeah. No, that's, it is a lifestyle change. If you are going to detox. Now you said something interesting to me that I want to talk about too a little bit. Is you said, your detox it also considers diet. So you said vegetables, fruits, these kinds of things. Now, I know what's in our vegetables and fruits. Our vegetables and fruits are loaded with garbage all over the top of them. What is your suggestion? Organic? Because then here's another thing. Now, the community that we're talking to is a very wealthy community. Some of the people in here are very, very wealthy, and money doesn't matter to them as far as their eating goes, and they can afford good food. But let's just face it, the normal family of 4 or 5 can't just throw organic everything and farm raised this and free range that on the table when you're feeding your kids and everything. So what's your solution for that? And what do you think about the chemicals and all those things on the vegetables and the fruits themselves?
Well, it's a very unfortunate, what goes on with that. Way back when I was in school, I actually took a whole class and researched, what the FDA considers, GMO and all of this stuff. And it was quite scary to read what is actually acceptable to put on the market and basically, not really be so truthful on the label. But I always say everything, balance it. So, there's certain things that you should try to always get organic. Maybe not necessarily, if they can't afford it, don't get everything organic, but, they have like the dirty dozen list and, things like celery or strawberries those should always be organic. And then try to do things like avoid canned stuff. I mean, some people are still eating out of cans, and that's like aluminum, that's heavy metals that your body's just going to leach up and it's going to sit in your organs. And that's why, again, I talk about I talk about doing a detox program, because that, it's you're taking supplements, you're having shakes with these powders. That is what I want to get in your body. And then we make the best food choices along with that. But this is what's going to help to clear it out, reset. So, even if, people have a limited budget, if they can afford something like doing a detox like twice a year, that's also going to help, keep them healthy.
Nice. All right. Well, I am not I'm an advocate for, being very, very careful about the fruits and vegetables, and even the meats that you put in your body, but I've always found it hard to do it right for a whole family. And like you said, it's like, do it as right as you can, as often as you can. And in some areas you just can't get away from it, but get rid of some of the things. Now let's talk about these heavy metals. That's a kind of a controversial subject with some people. Some people, it's BS, and some people it's real. And where did you hear about it? What's the science behind it as far as you're concerned? And what's it mean?
So I learned about it in school in some of like my fellowship programs, and basically different heavy metals where we can find them in our air, in our water, in our food, and the things we're putting on our body. What they do is they start to accumulate in your body and sit on different organs. And what this causes is accelerated aging, increased risks of cancer, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's. And there are studies behind this. Now, the way I kind of view it is, well, okay, let's say somebody tells me I'm toxic in heavy metals. So what's the treatment for it? Well, the best treatment is intravenous chelation therapy. And who uses chelation therapy? So let's say I tell you, I think you're toxic in heavy metals. And you're like, that's crap. I don't even know what heavy metals are. Well, let's just do this treatment. Guess what? In Western medicine, they actually do, cardiologists use it for cardiovascular health. They're now using it for diabetic neuropathy. So, even if people want to accept it or not accept it, and let's just do the treatment is so beneficial for your health that that's one of the ways I look at it. I definitely think it's a real thing. I've seen it, patients subjectively report feeling better, having more mental clarity. I actually, kind of moving into the treatment side of things, I've treated patients with the same treatment for it that have Lyme disease, that have chronic fatigue syndrome, and we've seen improvements in their outcomes. And then obviously, even if they are interested, and if they aren't interested in it, we bring those metal levels down. So I don't know if I answered your question. I feel like I always end up on all these tangents because I get so excited.
Well, no, you did, because, so your detox includes, these shakes, probably some detoxifying, elements that are in your shakes, or in the shakes. And then of course there's the preventative, or not the preventative side, but the actual, like you said, the Western medicine side, where they're doing this chelation therapy, almost like what would you call it when you run a dialysis type of situation, where they're actually chelating your blood, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like an IV drip. Like when you go in and get IV vitamins, it's similar to that. You give it slower. Sometimes there's different chelating agents that we choose based upon, the diagnosis. And we, like, what I do is I'll do like a series of 10 infusions over, every week or every other week. And then we recheck your metals and then see where you are.
So when you run these tests, you look at all different types of metals in people's bodies: iron, lead, mercury, all these things.
Yep. Arsenic, aluminum.
And what do you typically, so you run these blood tests on people. What do you typically see in people when you guys run these tests?
So
high levels on everybody, or like this guy's high and this guy's not, this gal is, this gal, what do you see?
I see it varies. I would say of the heavy metals, I usually see the most, like the highest levels I usually see are like mercury and aluminum. A lot of people don't know that with aluminum, that comes straight from your deodorant. So if you use antiperspirant deodorant, the antiperspirant component is straight aluminum. So just like
Yeah.
rubbing it right in your body. Luckily though, the market is aware of this now, and there's a lot of non-antiperspirant deodorants. But anyways, mercury, aluminum, lead to some extent. And I think those are the most common, and it's across the board. Now, when you check it in your blood, that's also only telling you what you've been exposed to just recently. So maybe the past few weeks. To do like a more advanced test, you will test it in your urine. You'll usually give like a trial, like a small dose chelator, have somebody collect their urine, and this agitates your organs, and then we can actually get a readout of what's been sitting in your organs. So it's more of a long-term overview.
Okay. So now when you say this about the heavy metals, so I grew up in the 70s, you know, and my grandmother had these water cups that are like this awesome aluminum. They're like, the water stays really cold in them. I forget the name of them, but everybody had them back in the 60s and 70s, and we still have them. And I look at them and they're like, there's like aluminum leaching out of them. Like, just, you can tell they're just like oxidized, and it's like, I am not drinking out of these anymore. I have them in the cupboard, but I'm not drinking out of them. Is that where we get this stuff from, like this old aluminum and all these things like that? Or like you said, mostly it's like when you're rubbing it under your armpits and stuff.
Yeah, that's like aluminum, foil, cans, things like that.
So like cooking your stuff on foil in the ovens and all that.
I tell people to try to stay away from foil. And then when we look at like mercury, a lot of people have mercury fillings. Tuna, swordfish, those are like notorious for just being loaded with mercury.
My
unfortunately, favorite. I know.
And now the tuna is even worse because of the some of the radiation that's floating around over there from Fukushima. Some of the fish are kind of floating around in that stuff, and that stuff's moving around out in the ocean a little. So
and one other thing of note with mercury is I always tell people, a lot of people take fish oil. There's some wonderful studies on how wonderful omega-3s are. I know you already said how bad omega-6s are. Yeah, they're horrible. Yeah. Omega-3s. So a lot of companies use tuna. They use like some kind of fish. And that I actually read a study a couple years ago where they compared some of the different big brands of supplements and their omegas, and they found them to have mercury in them. So people need to be very aware of, not only any type of supplement that you're taking, but like especially with omegas that whatever brand is testing them for heavy metals.
And there's the other problem. Like, so if you're a family and you're trying to, put a dime where a dollar's supposed to go, but you do want to make them healthy. And so what do? You go buy the cheap vitamins and you get this kind of stuff. And it's like, that's the one thing that I've done is I've searched for bioavailability, quality of brands of different, supplements and whatnot, because I know that if you're going to do it, you got to do it right, or else you might be actually creating more problems than you're helping.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think I have become very passionate about kind of the supplement world just because of all the research that I've done and all the misleading information that, it hurts me to hear things like that. And you see it all the time where people think, I'm being healthy, I'm getting this. And it's like it's actually a disservice to them. And I think, that's what's driven me to kind of get into more of the production side, working directly with labs to produce supplements and like I said, my detox, so that I can kind of oversee like, where are these ingredients? Where are they coming from? What are we testing them for? How pure are they? And instead of fighting the system, I'm just going to build a new system. There's my big entrepreneurial dreams.
So we're gonna be touching base back with you on some of this stuff, because we talked about inflammation, and there's a product out there that is cutting edge that's called C60, and some of the people in the chat room have been asking about it. I'm going to ask that you go and do your due diligence on it and come back to us and report on the C60 for us, because I know it's cutting edge. Now I'm taking it because I've read a little about it, and I think that I'm always down for a good anti-inflammatory. So I found a good company that sells a good brand. One of our community members was kind of showing it to us. So I've been on it. I love it. I think it's good. But I'd like to hear your opinion on it. A doctor's opinion who's into supplements and whatnot. Get a good look at it. So if you can look at C60 for us, we would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So that's on inflammation. Now, if somebody wanted to say go to somebody like you, and obviously there's people all over the world when you're involved in the internet here. Do you have a lab, or do you have people go to their own lab and they just send the results to you, or how does that work?
So my main practice is in Scottsdale, Arizona, actually my retreat. And I also, I do travel to a couple other locations. I go to Miami almost every month to go see patients. Once I grow a big enough population somewhere, I just start making other trips to go to New York. But I do a lot of televisits too. So we can have our first visit. I determine what labs we should draw. And then I work with labs that, is local to the person. And then we have our follow-up via telemedicine as well. And then, depending what we come back with, either they can do their therapy where they are at home, or they can come come to my retreat, stay on premise, and go through a whole mind-body transformation. So it just depends on the scenario.
Okay. I like it. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the chat real quick.
Sure.
I want to see if there was some questions here from the community.
Yeah. When you were you brought up inflammation a couple of times. Another thing that I love to work with are stem cells or biologics. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much you're into that, but that is another, we can talk more in depth if you want about stem cells. I do a very specialized procedure called a V-cell procedure, which is like micro stem cells. But what this does is major anti-inflammatory, rejuvenates your cells, and I like to call them your youth cells. We wake them up.
So I was a millwright for like 30 years, and I moved heavy equipment, heavy machinery. I've got 8 herniated discs in my back. A couple of them are in my neck, and the rest are down my lowers. And is that any of that therapy? So they're not what do you call it? Herniated enough to where they have to do surgery yet. I don't have to be caged yet, but they're telling me that this is my future. Eventually I'm going to have these surgeries. They want to cut my throat open and go in the back and work on my spine. And I didn't know, hell no, I'm not doing that. So I do chiropractic. I've been told to do yoga. I haven't done yoga yet, but try and stay somewhat healthy. But they were doing so Western medicine, or real world medicine, or whatever you want to call it, was doing these injections, and it was some mixture of like prednisone and something else, and they were going right into my spine. They'd say, "Hey, is that your little finger?" And they'd shock my little finger, and I'd feel it, and it was just the weirdest thing ever. And they were in my spine doing this stuff to me, and then okay, we got you, and then they'd give me the shot, and then I'd feel good for the next 6 months or so, but then it would come back, and my arms would go numb and that kind of thing. What do you do for that? What do you do for like that kind of inflammation or that kind of damage, or how do you work on that without having to do surgery and things?
So I think that's where the next best thing to surgery is where like stem cells come in. Either directly for your spine, you can inject them into your spine to help bring down some of that inflammation around it. And then if you do start to develop that, like neuropathy or like tingling in your extremities, obviously that's a sign of it worsening. But then there's also different therapies like alpha lipoic acid, things you can do for that, the damage in those cells.
And does your practice do that, or is that something you refer to somebody else? Or
So I work with stem cells. I do alpha lipoic acid. I don't do spinal injections, but I can send you to the right place to do it. I love synergy in medicine, and I actually I work with, there's other practitioners around that will partner to do procedures. You mentioned Robert Kiyosaki earlier, and
Yes.
I work with. Well, he had some pretty severe arthritis in his neck, and it was recommended that he get surgery. And so then he came to me and he was like, hell no. What are you going to do for me? And so I interviewed some spine surgeons, and I found one in California who's amazing. And we partnered I harvested his stem cells, did a whole laser procedure. He just stuck them directly in his neck. And Robert is at the gym all the time. He reports no pain. He's actually about to get his follow-up MRI because I want to see objective data too. But back to, I don't do spine injections, but I love partnering with other, I feel like this is what's going to create better outcomes for patients, as doctors, working together with other ones, and we each do our magic. And it was just a whole beautiful thing that happened with amazing patient outcomes. So it can be done.
Yeah, well, good. I'm going to be inquiring because that's, my biggest issue is my spine, and I want to work on it and figure out, because it's like, okay, well, how do you prevent it after you've already done the damage? Now what do you do? How do you stop it from getting worse? How do you make it a little more comfortable? Because that's, like you said, the neuropathy, it goes into my arms, and they told me eventually I'll lose the feeling in both of my arms, and that's where I'm headed to if I don't, get this under control or do something for it. So,
and one other thing that you could be doing is, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said, no, I'm going to be talking to you about that.
Okay, definitely. One other thing is Pilates to help strengthen your core muscles to support your spine.
Okay. I'm going to do lots more surfing. I don't know about the Pilates, but I'm going to try to maybe do some more surfing instead of Pilates. My wife's trying to get me into yoga, and I just haven't been able to just pull that off yet. It's like, I don't know, the mat in the room with it's done downward dog. I can do that on my surfboard. So anyway, so let's talk a little bit about, so I know preventative medicine, and especially for younger people out there, starting this thing early and, putting supplements in, maybe we can talk about this too. Rango's talking. Thanks for the $5, Rango. He's talking about GCMAF colostrum. That's another one of those awesome, like phytoplankton and acai berry and all of these other things that I've heard are just wonder supplements. But maybe we can talk about. Let's talk about that for a second. These wonder supplements. What are some of your favorite? Do you think they're good? Add them. What's your, because they're expensive. These things are expensive. And that's what I want to talk about is prices of things and costs and whatnot. But what do you think of these superfoods?
I think as long as you're getting a good quality product, I think a lot of them can be really beneficial. But don't be blinded by, you're talking about acai. There's acai bowls out on the market. I was talking.
It's like ice cream. It's like Baskin Robbins.
I was like, did you ever look at the sugar? I've seen bowls that have 75 grams of sugar. I'm like, that's not a superfood.
Tastes good as hell, but you might not be getting a whole bunch of benefit from it.
Yeah. So it depends, how are you ingesting this stuff? But I think there are some really good supplements. When people ask me what are your biggest supplements that are so important for people, I am a big fan of good quality omega-3s, adrenal supplements, because everybody is stressed. Even if you don't think you're stressed, our tolerance level just keeps going up.
What's an adrenal supplement?
So they're a different adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, rhodiola, And what these do is basically balance your, our cortisol is what responds to our stress.
Yes.
It is what balances our, like those fight or flight hormones. And, a lot of people are like this throughout the day. They're spiking and then crashing and spiking. And this leaves them eventually feeling tired all the time. So what these adaptogenic herbs do is help to balance. And they are known as like intelligent herbs because they can actually, or adaptogens, because they actually adapt to your hormones. So if you are starting to spike, it will calm you. And if you're like low, you're having a little bit of fatigue, it can help elevate those and balance out those hormones.
Nice. So are those things in the same family as nootropics?
Yeah. I mean, I always refer to them as like botanical medicine, but I think they do fall in that category too.
I'm on those right now. One of the community members got me on nootropics. I take a multiple a bunch of supplements, a bunch of them, and there's everything from herbs and mushrooms and funguses and all kinds of different things in these. Really good brand of nootropics that we've found in the community, and they have one of the things that I've noticed about them is that I get energy, I get clarity, but I get, like you said, that level, like the stress levels aren't as high anymore. Like I don't, boom and crash and that kind of thing. I noticed that with the nootropics and those, I guess you call them smart herbs.
Yes. Yep. So that's, same thing.
Nice.
And then to answer your the participant question. So colostrum, I know that, there's a lot of studies on immune health and I think even like some joint health with it, but it's known, I think, best for immune health. I personally don't use it a lot just because it comes from like the mammary glands of a mammal, and their genetic makeup is different than ours. So even though it's healthy for their newborns, I still don't understand, and I'm looking through the science, but I don't know how it totally is equivocal to human genetics and our immune system. So it is, it's a little different, but I've heard things from both sides of the field with that. So that's what I have to say about it.
Okay.
Do you use colostrum?
What's that?
Do you use colostrum?
I had been given, I've tried so many supplements, and then there's so many different supplements. Like literally my nootropics, I have 5 bottles of nootropics. I have 4 bottles of supplements. I've got 4 bottles of eyedroppers that I take. And then I've got my CBD that I take. So there's all of these supplements, and that's a lot. There's a lot of money involved in that. I mean, that's a lot of money. I
do meal replacements. It's your breakfast, right?
Well, I spend more on that than I do on food every month, it seems. I mean, there's a lot of money involved in that. So, but I do know that my food doesn't have these things in it anymore. I know the one thing that I learned while marketing supplements was that our soils have been depleted. Our waters have been depleted of all of the things that should be out there. With the farming practices aren't letting the nutrients back in that need to be there. They just basically throw what they can in there to make that stuff grow and plump up. They're putting hormones and things in there to make the grapes big, to make this big, to make that big, but they're really not putting the nutrition back into them anymore. So the plants aren't leaching the nutrients from the soil, because we were never meant to put rocks in our body. We just weren't. We weren't never meant to pull the rocks out of the dirt and put them in our body. We were supposed to have the plants take the rocks from the soil, leach the nutrients from them, put them in their leaves. The animals were supposed to eat them, and the food that we ate had the nutrients that we needed. That's not the farming practice anymore. Farming practices have totally depleted all of our nutrients from our soils and our cattle, our pigs, our chickens, or all these things. So now we've got a supplement. So we're putting rocks in our body again. So you got to put good rocks in your body. So now you got to go searching for the proper supplements. And it's hard. It really is hard, you know, and we say, okay, yeah, preventative, but what it's going to cost me, you know, thousands of dollars every month to take care of a family of 5, you know, and that's not even counting food. And now I got to go look for other stuff. So what's your solution? And then, you know, if I have this crappy insurance that me as a working guy has, but I want to go to somebody like you, you know, how do I afford all this? How do I budget all of this, you know?
So, I obviously, like, I can't see everybody.
Yep.
I don't take insurance at my practice just because they don't cover anything I want to do. I would rather spend the time with my patients versus fighting with insurance companies to try to get $10 reimbursement. But what I am trying to do, because, you know, I do want to serve more people, and I want people to, more and more people to learn how to be as healthy as they can. That's why I'm starting to develop products, and I am starting a podcast so I can, you know, give education to people, because yeah, not everybody can afford to pay out of pocket for healthcare.
Just rich crypto guys, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to do more. Oh my God, I'm blanking on the word ephemeralization. I learned that from Robert Kiyosaki. Do more with less. So I'm learning how to do that so I can share health with more people.
Do more with less. There you go. Well, let's talk about your podcast a little bit, because we're trying to team up with you and help you with your podcast, and that's why we're bringing you on here. We like to talk about health. We'd love to tap into what it is that you're doing. You know, get updates every now and then. Have you, you know, check out stuff for us and help people that would like to be helped. So what's your podcast going to be? I know that you just set it up. Where's that? How can my people find that?
Well, I will let you know as soon as I air my first episode. I'm literally, like, I'm about to start it, but it's going to be Ultra Healthy Human. It should be out on the main platforms. I would say check back in like a month. Now I'm really going to be held on the line here. So
no, I think we already actually have the channel developed. I think Gary, he can put it in the private chat for me, and I'll get that out for everybody so that we can get you started, so everybody knows where we're going to find you at.
Okay.
And then of course we're going to be talking with, you know, more people from the Kiyosaki crew over there and the team, and updating them. And you and I are definitely going to have a conversation, because I've got a lot of stuff going on that I need help with. I am quitting my job. I'm becoming a full-time, I guess, entrepreneur. Does somebody who spends money, do you call them an entrepreneur? If they've, anyway,
whatever you're spending money on, you're creating more assets, right?
I guess I've only got one that I really care about, to be completely honest. I mean, yeah, I'd like to do some more real estate. I am looking at real estate. And I know Robert is really, really into real estate, and some of his other people. So I can't wait to talk to them about that. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve on how to get into real estate even better. So
I think even beyond real estate, I mean, Robert he's not only my patient, and there's no HIPAA violation here. He said I can talk about him, but he's also been a mentor for me. So people that are in things outside of real estate, I mean, he has helped me with, you know, my real estate that my practice is in. My practice is paying for my real estate. So, you know, a way to create an asset. But going back to, well, touching on Robert again, and kind of how his health transformation has gone. Is it okay if I talk about this for a second?
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Since you brought it up earlier, I figure I'll finish his whole story. So Robert, when he first came to me, it was a couple of years ago. He was overweight, diabetic, high blood pressure, meant like brain fog, kind of moody, and he was non-compliant. I kept trying to get him to do stuff, and finally, somehow, I don't know how I got him to do the 21-day detox, and he like started to feel like a little bit of something. He was like starting to feel good, and then slowly over time he started to be more compliant, and to the point of he tells me when he wants to do another detox, which is amazing for him. And we have been able to, if you've seen him like a couple years ago till now, like he is a perfect testimony. I mean, we've reversed his diabetes, blood pressure under control.
Nice.
We've taken him off of most of his meds for that.
Nice.
Lost a ton of weight. He looks like we've done different, like that B-cell procedure that I mentioned with him, but lots of detoxing, IV vitamins, but he looks young. He looks more vibrant. He is like, it's like he's a whole new person. I mean, he's like, I look better than when I was in the military, and he feels great. And I'm so proud of him for making that change. And, you know, now it's like, he's dedicated and wants to take care of his health because he feels the difference.
Yeah, we need him around because he's starting to come around to cryptocurrencies now. And we have the ultimate crypto to introduce him to. I don't know if you've been involved in the space at all.
Just a little bit.
Okay. Well, I mean, for a lack of a better term, excuse my French, it's a shit show out there. And this community here has been through the ringer. I mean, this is a group of people that have been around crypto for a long time, that are tired of it, that were looking for the right crypto to finally come out, and they found it. We found it. And this channel here has exposed the whole community and brought everybody on so that we can talk about it and bring it to the world. And this is our first meeting with part of your team, with part of Robert's team, and we cannot wait to finally get in front of him, because he has been approached by other people outside of our community about this cryptocurrency in particular, because of the yield generation that it creates. It's just right up, you know, the Rich Dad team's alley. It's a phenomenal deal. I cannot wait to talk to you guys more about it. I know this show is, you know, about health and about you and our first kind of meeting. But eventually I know that we've got a marriage made in heaven here because of who your team is and who our team is and what we're trying to accomplish here. And I like your approach, being the person who's talking about the whole person, you know, mind, body, taking care of both things. And we like to do mind, body, and finance here. We talk about that too. And of course there's a spiritual awakening that comes from all of that, from freedom and taking care of yourself. And we don't get too political or into the whole spiritual thing here. But everybody has whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you connected to, you know, the power source that's out there that you feel like tapping into. But we like the holistic approach of kind of helping everybody with a little bit of everything. Because if you're gonna make money and be an entrepreneur, you got to stick around to spend it and enjoy it with your family, right?
Yep. I always say, without health, you have no wealth. And I'm excited to learn about your community. Like, people can reach out to me on, like, I'm trying to get into Instagram. I'm trying to get into social media more. I'm kind of like, I'm at my practice all the time, so it's new to me, but I am like active on Instagram. I want to learn more about your community. I want to learn more about this type of crypto because it's definitely intriguing to me. And I want to keep learning about it and keep like expanding my knowledge.
We're gonna embrace the Rich Dad team, and we're gonna teach you guys what we know, and we're gonna learn from you guys too. I cannot wait to marry the two communities. I'm really excited about this. We've been trying to break through and kind of talk with one another. Gary has been very active out there with Gammon and Robert and all of them, and bringing you in with. And when I found out there was a health person, I was like, oh, this is freaking awesome. We get to talk about health too, and we'll be able to regularly update. We'll get you to look at things for us. You can fix the old pirate's back. I mean, I'm excited about this. So, Dr. Nicole, thank you for coming on. We appreciate you. And you guys, I put her YouTube up there. By the way, you have a YouTube. We've
okay.
Made a YouTube
That's news to me. I think you're helping with a few things.
Yes.
Now, well, I think I have 2 Instagrams now. I think he's helped me with a new one, but the one I've been using is called Ultra Healthy Human.
Ultra Healthy Human, guys. Be looking for her. Dr. Nicole's going to be coming back to us, and that's her YouTube channel. I just put it in the chat. So hopefully we'll get an update in another couple months or a month or so. And then also I'll give you guys updates on what she's doing for the old pirate spine.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for coming. If you want to hang out in the green room for a minute, I'd love to talk to you afterwards. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody and shut this thing down. So thanks for coming.
Okay. Yep.
Dr. Nicole, everybody. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I know that it wasn't a regular Discourse Syndicate crypto smash them up, bash them up show, but this is important, guys. This is very, very important. I freaking love each and every one of you, and I want you all to stick around and enjoy your gains. I really, really mean that. I've always talked about this. I've always talked about you young ones out there, loving life and enjoying life. Look, guys, take care of yourselves. Don't end up like me with a spine that's riddled with freaking, herniations. Don't end up like me with, issues with, my pumps and stuff. You guys go out there and take care of yourself. Easy on the drinking. Quit the goddamn smoking. Stay away from them damn vapes. Put good food in your body. Put good supplements in your body. Take care of yourselves. Get your mind right. Relax. Get those cortisol levels down. Do all these things, and I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy your gains. Take care of your body. You don't want to end up in your later years in life feeling miserable, hurting bad. Go out looking good, feeling good, and enjoying yourself. So thanks everybody for showing up. We'll catch you on the Friday night hangout, where I promise you it's going to be lots of cussing, lots of bullshit going on, all kinds of crypto crap happening. You guys are going to love it. We'll see you guys on Friday. Have a real, real good one. Thanks. Oh, don't forget all the rest of the guys. They're doing their streams this week too. We'll see you.